I'm 28 years old. If I was 18 and had those 10 years back, this is exactly what I would do.
J like the letter, I'm making several waves. I know the mission the same. I made a splash, now all of my passes last like running a race with Usain. I keep it coming like this a buffet. And if I'm stumbling, I'm in the grave. Never gon' fumble it, I get the bag and I run with it. Gunning it, gunning it, gunning it, gunning it.
So I was 25 years old when I finally moved out of my parents' house, this very same spot. And before then, I was just this lost, misguided soul. I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have any direction to take. I didn't know who to trust, who not to trust. Now, as a 28-year-old, in those 3 years, I finally found a direction. I finally found that path. So in this video, I want to guide you exactly on how to get to where I am right now in a rapid progression. Let's start. So if I had a redo when I was 18, straight out of high school, the number one thing I would do, join the military. Let me tell you why. I'm no recruiter. I'm not trying to freaking guide you guys to the front lines or anything of that sort. The experience that the military would teach a young man at that age is discipline, persistence. It would also give you money. And not just that, it'll pay you in the long run too. I have buddies personally to this day that are getting paid $1,000 checks each month, even though they're out of the military. The beautiful thing about that is you build this thing called discipline. And with discipline, you can use that same mindset, those same habits that you learn in the military, and apply that to your whole entire life in general, i.e. waking up early, going to the gym, cooking your own meals, making your own laundries, minute stuff like that. And then that stuff will later translate to bigger things like paying off a house, picking up the kids, learning how to persevere through tough times. That's the main thing that the military does teach you. And as a 28-year-old, that's my biggest regret, not joining the military. And it's probably gonna be my biggest regret to the day I die. So if I was 18, barely starting out, that is exactly what I would do. Number 2, learn about your finances. Now you're probably fresh out of high school, or maybe you're watching this later on. Well, this same thing will still apply to you too. So what they don't usually teach you in high school is how, honestly, they should have a course on how to adult, but that's a tangent. What they don't teach you in high school is financial literacy. Now what that means is you go to college, you get a job, and that job pays you, and then you use that money from that said job to finance your expenses and your life in general. That's the wrong thing to do. So what you should be doing is starting to work as early as possible, and then you use those finances and you invest that finances. And I'm not talking about Dogecoin or one of those meme coins or cryptocurrency, even though pretty much Bitcoin and Ethereum should be a relatively long-term good hedge, but that's a side note. I'm not going to get into that in general right now in this video. The main experts always tell you is this one thing: invest in index funds. Now, the beautiful thing about index funds is they track the whole entire stock market. So the average annually return on the stock market is between 8 to 12%. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but once you factor in dividends, once you factor in compound interest, once you factor in your time in the market, after 5 years, that 8 to 10% is just gonna roll over and snowball. And then it's gonna be a snowball effect and eventually lead you to a higher net return year in and year out. But that's only because you start early. That's only because you take advantage of the time that you have right now. So if you're barely starting out a job and you're thinking about spending all that money, I'm here to tell you, be more patient. Invest some of that money. So some good brokerage accounts are Robinhood, Fidelity, or if you're able to, Vanguard. Now most companies are gonna have a 401k, that's pretty much a retirement account. Now you could do that same thing, but for yourself, into a Roth IRA. And that Roth IRA is gonna be pretty much your own separate retirement account, separated from your work retirement account. Now the beautiful thing about a Roth IRA is it's managed solely by yourself, not just the company that you work for. So me personally, I use Fidelity, and in that same account, I invest in only 2 things, and those are blue chip growth stocks or total stock market index funds. And what those are, they pretty much track the whole entire stock market. So it's not just investing in one stock per se, like Apple. you invested in Apple, Tesla, Nvidia before it crashed, and all these other companies, but just have fractional shares. And in return, you're not overly leveraged on one thing. You're diversified in that same stock market. Just look at Warren Buffett, for example. He's one of the richest men in the entire world, and his number one financial advice is invest in ETF funds, blue chip growth stocks in this particular example. And if you look at him, for example, he made most of his wealth past 70 years old, and that's because he invested early and he had time in the market. So that's my second step. Step number 3, what I would do personally when I was 18 years old, talk to more women. Now, the beautiful thing about talking to more women is if you're one of those guys who is super shy, super uncomfortable talking to women like I was myself, you learn that uncomfortable skill set early on, and then you could expand on that skill set and just keep using that thing over and over again. You pretty much become comfortable getting uncomfortable. And at the end of the day, it's always great to be able to approach a woman just outside of the street and get their number or other stuff of that nature too. So that would be my third step. Talk to more girls. Try it out. Now, last but not least, the most important thing you should do when you're first starting out, build up your physique. Let me tell you why. Now, I spend years in the shadows building up my physique right now. And then when you're first starting out, you're probably going to have delusions of grandeur, think you're the biggest guy that's ever walked this earth. I kind of thought that way too, and then I had a realization check that wasn't that big yet. So the positive things about building up your physique is whenever you walk inside of a room, everybody's going to eye you out. You want to know why? Because you gain their respect by doing something that looks uncomfortable. And not just that, you portray yourself as somewhat of a threat. What that does, think of in the animal kingdom, the silverback gorillas. Who's the leader of the tribe? The biggest guy. So it's natural for a human to think that same way too, since we're so closely related to that said animal. So once you build up your physique and you build up your size, then that comes with it too. You look more like a protector and you look more like a threat, which is, in the long run, the best thing to attract a partner or people's respect without even saying a word. So it's worked wonders for me. I know it could do the same for you too. So those are a couple things I would do personally if I was starting out. Hope you try that out too. Once again, hope you found value in this video. Hope you found some information. My mission for you is, if you're young enough, or if you're able to, apply these things to your life. It will work tremendously. Once again, it's been your boy Coach Ed. See you later.